All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to DreamHack Bucharest with the most stacked lineup of all time. This is not only an awesome match, we have a guest caster joining us. You're used to hearing myself, Rifkin, and Doom all day. Well, we're now joined with guest commentator Complexity Sasquatch. Say hello, dude.
Hello, dude.
Excellent. Good pun, etc., etc. But getting into the player introduction, spawning here in the top right corner of the map, playing for Axiom, it's the Red Terran player, Hart.
And his opponent, spawning in the southwestern portion of Neoplanet S. He is a multiple-time MLG champion, a multiple-time GSL champion, and an Iron Squid champion, none other than StarTale's life.
I remember seeing him in MLG, dude, and I was just sweating bullets watching those games. And he's going for an early pool. Oh my god. This is interesting to me because, I don't know, Sasquatch, in your experience, has early pooling ever really worked against Terran?
I mean, if anybody's made it work, it's StarTale Life. He's like the king of early pool versus Terran. It's definitely one of his go-to builds. He's been mixing it up since Wings of Liberty, doing that. So, he's obviously expecting a CC first from Hart, but I'm sure he's comfortable opening this way versus Reapers too, which is what Hart is actually doing.
Yeah, I mean, the disadvantage of going for a pool is, like, if a Terran player walls off, no, you're not going to bust in there, but as Sasquatch just pointed out, it gives you the lings out in the field earlier, it also gets that queen out significantly earlier, so things like the early harass, not as big of a deal to panic over. And of course, with a 10 pool, it's pretty much like one of the more economic pools you can take, the ones that don't screw you over into an all-in.
Yeah, it's not all-in for sure, and he's definitely probably the best person to transition out of it. Even versus something like Reaper. I mean, obviously the best opening to play against in this situation is Hart going CC first on the low ground, but as soon as Life scouts that there's no low ground CC, and then he's gonna go check for a barracks with that overlord, and he's gonna know what's up. And he's gonna start reacting appropriately.
Well,
It's also peculiar to note that Life is doing this build in this open format, just knowing, not really knowing perhaps what Hart's going to be going for, but just out of a whim. It's got to be something he's comfortable with, something he's planned for, and just something that he's definitely going to be able to transition out into further in the game, no matter what the result is from this. But his lings got caught to the southern portion of the map, trying to go into the main base. It looks like. Are you maybe just hiding them?
Yeah, he's hiding them because obviously the Reaper can just chase them down and kite them forever. So he's just keeping them out of the way, and gonna sneak them back probably to his base, or try to go and cancel the CC when the Reaper moves out.
Yeah, the overlord
checked the location where the lings were hiding for.
Yeah, I really like when players open aggressive in series. I don't care what the matchup is, but if you're doing a best of 3 and you're confident you can macro out into game 2, I say go aggressive. Put your opponent on the back burner, like always thinking like, okay, he might open something aggressive on game 2, on game 3. It's always a possibility. And these two Reapers, it's a good thing he's hiding those links, because these would be just dead meat by now.
Yeah, but see, Hart's too smart for it. He's not sending his Reapers across the map. He's keeping them at base because he knows Life's gonna go for the cancel. Yep. And see, now these lings are gonna get denied very easily.
I can't even get the SCV. It looks like not. The SCV's gonna play Wing Around the Rosie. Nicely handled here by Hart. Actually, incredibly well done. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just line them up, shoots them down, and Command Center will continue on as per usual. But meanwhile, we point out it's kind of an economic opening. We got both the hatcheries down. We got queens out in the field. Saturation is perfectly fine, and the worker difference is not even significant.
That's very cool how Hart did that off of just scouting the hatchery timing alone. I mean, he obviously is familiar with Life's playstyle and his preferences, knowing that he scouted at that location where the lings would potentially be hiding, but just having the foresight to keep the Reapers back at home, take a small delay on his command center building on the low ground, but eventually getting that up will put him in a decent economic standing in this game so far.
Yeah, and his follow-up is really good here actually too. He's going straight in the Banshee, Hellion Banshee with like Reapers too, and you can be really aggressive with Reaper Hellion and just do a lot of damage to the queens actually, and then the Banshee follow-up will be really strong.
It's kind of another thing kind of working against Life here is like Hart's a relatively well-known player. I don't think anyone could say he's unknown at this point, but when you're someone like StarTale Life, whose replays are probably public, whose VODs are all over the place, like your builds become known, and Hart, I don't know if he's playing into it intuitively or if he's just going with a strategy that he knows is good against Zerg. Either way, there's always the possibility where Life, he can't afford to play the way he normally would in every other game.
I love this build. I do this build as frequently as I possibly can if I ever hit a Zerg on the ladder. And I think Neoplanet S is a pretty decent map for the Banshee attack. Of course, you're not going to have that much room in the back of the base to really juke around the Zerg. But if you can attack from multiple angles from that natural expansion also into the main and just run the Hellions by, getting those Hellions in the main base opens up so many opportunities for you as the Terran player.
Yeah, but life is walling off quite nicely here. Spineclaw actually going to be
True.
part of the wall instead of behind it. So all he really needs is the one queen to block.
I really like that wall off.
Yeah, that's a really good wall off, especially versus somebody who's going to be so aggressive with these Hellions. It's going to be pretty hard for Hart to actually do any solid damage here. Really, it's going to come down to how he uses these Banshees. He should be able to deny the third for a bit. But actually, Life has 9 Roaches coming out, and that's going to be very good against defending against his Hellions.
Poor Hellions, it's like the natural predator. We're watching like the National Geographic Channel, and it's just like lurking in the woods.
9 roaches will be creeping from the creep
Pretty much.
to your base.
I
He's
like.
gonna go straight for the third here.
I really like the Viking follow-up to this as well. It's going to allow him to start clearing out the Overlords, but Life didn't actually send out too many Overlords on the field, so it's not going to get 4 or 5 kills like a Viking normally would, but instead more like 1 or 2.
I don't know if a cancel went down on that third base either. It looks
Yeah,
like
he
Life
didn't
just let that
cancel
die.
Ooh, that's going to be rough. Meanwhile, Banshee's looking to meander into the main, but there are 2 queens here and a Spore Crawler coming down.
Did he research Cloak or did he
Nope.
end up canceling that? Okay.
Did not go for the cloak. Wall-off will hold for a little bit, but the Roaches, of course, are going to have no problem eventually busting through this.
Just somewhat scary situation here for the Terran player having these roaches come off. Definitely gonna have to pull the SCVs to try to keep the wall alive. That first depot is gonna fall down. There's no bunkers behind this.
The Hellions, you know, they're hitting the Roaches one at a time, and that's not the best way to engage this. He's really got to get used to that splash damage, because Hellions have very low damage versus Roaches. But here comes the Banshee to save the day, and SCV's hold positioning will keep those Roaches out of the base. Still going to lose quite a few SCVs for this, but he holds the line and does not let, well, actually just barely lets Life into his base.
At the end of the day, there are though 13 workers killed in total for Life, and he's got great information as to what his opponent's doing just based off of the composition that he's seen so far. Sure, he lost the third base, but now he's completely in the know and he's done very significant economic damage to his opponent.
Also,
Yeah, this was definitely a very interesting trade because Life still has no third. He's just staying on 2 base Roach, and it looks like it's going to be a Queen Nidus.
Whoa.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting for sure. Stim is going to be done for it. Hart does have a bunch of barracks. He's going to have a ton of Marines by the time it hits.
it's part of why I love casting these DreamHack games. These are so wild. Players don't hold back, and weird strategies like this will be made public as players employ them. Now, while Hart did lose a lot of SCVs, we can't forget, on the other hand, Mules. So actually, we look at his economy right now, and it's actually still better than Hart's for the time being. But, oh man,
We do have to remember there's a third CC out, so he is dropping 3 mules at a time now. Really, it's just going to come down to how much damage this Nidus can do.
It might get shut down, though. He's going to definitely walk upon this by accident. Oh, but will it complete? The Queen can come out and maybe transfuse? No, so close, but not close enough. And that's rough, because, of course, you can't cancel a Nidus Worm. That's 100 minerals, 100 gas just gone.
Yeah, now Life is just going to have the slow push with the Nidus.
Yeah, you can't be too risky with it.
The Vikings paying dividends and making it so that Life really doesn't have a great opportunity to build a Nidus close to Heart's base. So that's one of the big benefits here. He's going to rally out from this one position. Queens are going to desperately try to spread creep, and that is a significant amount of queens, which are going to be trailing this Roach army.
Yeah, and they're going to get there really slow, so it's going to be... There we go, that second Nidus Worm coming up, but the Queen's not turning around, just going to keep walking forward.
With their skirts around their ankles.
Now, the Queens will actually work exceptionally well against that Banshee in the air, and transfuses will be really nice, but with 3 bunkers down, it's going to be hard for Hart to lose this wall.
Well,
Yeah, 3 bunkers plus Stim, plus he's making Marauders and already has 2, I believe.
Yeah.
This is going to be very hard for him to push in without any kind of Baneling support, just pure Roach Queen.
Ooh, even initially loses a Roach there.
we definitely want to look for Life if he targets down the medevacs of Hart, if they do make their way out of the field into some vulnerable positions here. I'm curious if he's going to bring an Overseer and try to get a Nidus Worm on that high ground, though, into Hart's base, though. That could be an effective tactic here to just divert the bunkers completely.
A plan B is on the way, and it is in the form of a Spire, but it might be a little too late. The drop should get over there before even a single Mutalisk pops out.
Yeah, I get the feeling that third base is going to be under assault very, very rapidly in this game. I just want to point out, Life's creep spread is really fantastic so far in this game, only 13 minutes in.
Well, that's the advantage of Nidus Worms, I guess. And having like 9 queens on the field.
Ooh, drop to the north going out as well.
And he almost gets that Banshee, too. There was almost no counterattack to it either. Baiting the army out of the base. Here come the roaches. They're going to try and slam into this hard, but I like that he's not dedicating to this. Just a little bit of hit and run tactics for now.
Third base is under assault from that drop by Heart 2. Not a lot back here to respond for this. He's going to throw a couple of units back through the Nidus network, but that's simply not going to be enough to take this down. And no cancel on the third base once again.
Yeah, natural base is going to take some pressure too. A lot of the drones going down here. The medevac does go down, but he's losing almost every drone in the natural.
And no static D in the forms of spine crawlers or anything to protect this. Just a couple of queens and one roach, but he might even lose a couple of queens here, Ripken.
Nice transfuse does go off and keep it alive, but in the main, that queen is not so lucky. It doesn't have a friend to protect it. This is really rough for life, but on the other hand, Hart, while he's got that third CC, he doesn't actually have a third base established yet.
And that was such a critical time in the game where he's trying to get this Mutalisk count up as high as he possibly can, and, you know, forcing now to use a lot of his larva on drones if he wants to get back into the count here. So 42 drones to 51 SCVs, Hart in significant lead there, and he's about to establish his third base in the north.
You know, Queen, Muto, Roach, Knight is pretty standard stuff in DPD.
Yeah, something else to note is Hart is going to have a very significant upgrade lead for the rest of the game. His 2-2 is, you know, making its way, and Life has already no upgrades. So if Hart just hits a solid 2-2 timing, or even if he pressures now while taking his third, he's going to be in a very nice spot.
Yeah, I mean, without Bailings on the field, even without those upgrades, there's just no good way to deal with the bio with what he has. I mean, there's some Bailings, but they don't even have speed. This is not going to connect very well.
And whether he likes it or not, I think he's going to be forced into this pushing position as the third base is under assault by
Same
those
with the
Mutalisks.
main. Big drop going off in the main. There's nothing here to stop
Wow.
this. Oh god, even more workers getting killed behind this. And here comes that push right into the natural. And Life is, he's cracking under the pressure, I feel. This is not going his way at all. Game 1 is looking to be in Hart's favor. Again, I don't want to call it too soon, but this army is looking very unstoppable.
And Sasquatch completely right with the upgrade advantage with the medevacs here. The cost effectiveness of this Terran army is perhaps too much overcome. Life's trying to heal himself with the
So
transfusion
many
of the roaches.
transfuses.
It's just not enough.
Good game, and Hart gonna kick off this series with a 1-0 over StarTale Life.
Wow.